Hello everyone, drum tech, drummer, and YouTube educator Kenny Sherritt's coming to you from Rock Army Studios, where I just got done filming what I hope to be the most important drum tuning video you will ever watch, at least today. But while I'm in the studio with these two beautifully tuned toms with this lovely set of Heil microphones on it, I wanted to take some time to talk about tom mic placement and of course these awesome Heil microphones, y'all, because I gotta be honest, I use them live, I use them in the studio. The PR28 here is one of the most useful tom mics I've ever come across. And so I wanted to show you some of the reasons why I use them, but also how to place your tom mics to get different sounds, be it live or in the studio. So let's check it out, y'all. Now up first is the Heil PR28. Again, the most functional tom mic I've worked with live and kind of in the studio in a long time. It's affordable comparatively speaking to the other microphones that would be on a high-end setup in a studio, and allowing you to get great toms at home in your YouTube videos, your home recordings, or just in your home studio to get great tom sounds. Live, I absolutely love them, y'all. I've toured with them on several artists, with several sound guys using them, and they're simply the best sounding tom mics. And one of the reasons I like them is because it kind of doesn't really matter what angle you put them at. They just sound good with or without moon gels. Now before we get into mic placement, I'm gonna go ahead and put these little half gels back on because one, I like the mass it adds to the sound, but two, I wanna show you here the difference between with and without so you can understand sometimes in the studio or when you're playing live and you need to clean up your in-ear mix a little bit, why you want a little muffling on your drum. Now this sounds beautiful. Just a little dampening, y'all. Now that gives a much more clean, pure, and focused tone for the engineer to be able to mix with, having to use less EQ in the studio or live that can be then put up on the other artists and other instruments, including the lead vocalist, to be able to speak well in the PA because they didn't use the EQ on your floor tom. This also helps clean up the air around the microphones, giving a more focused and punchy tone, which comes across in your in-ears and the PA. Now with that being said, let's talk about the Heil PR28 on both these toms. Now, I gotta be honest, a lot of tom mics like this don't always sound the best on floor toms, or they have a floor tom model. You don't need a floor tom model with the PR28, as you can tell. Sounds phenomenal as it is. But I also wanted to talk about tom mic angles because with toms and floor toms, you have a couple of different options that really work well for the kit in the area. Like for example, this is the Goldilocks position. Just a little off, not too direct in, but away from the snare drum enough to where you don't get snare drum bleed live, or more importantly in the studio where you can't isolate the tone because you got a snare drum bleeding in it. Check it out. Warm, full tone, nice attack, but not too bright. Great for pop, rock, country, where you need the toms to be big and full and sustainful, but not necessarily up in your face. It's the same thing with the floor tom right here. Now I have it off the floor tom a little bit because I wanted that warm richness, but I also wanted to be able to bring it in and show you how the Goldilocks position allows you to really focus your tone to the perfect attack where you're like, oh yeah. Right there is what we're talking about. Now the next tom mic position I want to talk about with toms applies to a lot of people who like to play metal, rock, or you just need a more aggressive tom sound, or you need to get less of the kit in the mics. And this is something I know one of my friends did on Rihanna, the sound guy. He would take the mic, and God, I love these ultimate support stands because they make this so easy. These Pro XT stands kill it in the studio. I'll kill it in my YouTube studio, y'all. It's awesome. Anyways, this is kind of like down and dirty right in the head where you're getting the diaphragm a bit more in the head. Not right to the drum, but you're getting a flatter angle. So you get a more aggressive floor tom sound. We're gonna do this on the tom too. Bring it in. Now you need to bring it a little bit more from the bearing edge, otherwise you get too much bite, but check this out. Focused attack, man, right up in the microphone. So quick metal figures and big tom runs. come across even on a wide open floor tom. I mean, I've got a moon gel and one cotton ball in here. This thing is singing. So let's check this on the tom-tom right over here. Now again, I'm gonna bring it in because I don't have a Pro XT on this one. Boy, I wish I did, y'all. Let's do this. Move the cable a little bit. See, Pro XT makes all the difference. All right, now we're down and dirty on this tom. Let's see what we get. Oh, yeah, man. My engineer's thumbing up to me that is like hard rock central, man. So again, live, when you need less of the kit or more attack from your floor toms or your tom-toms, this might be a way to go. And in the studio, if you're looking to really give an aggressive sound, or if you're doing some sampler replacement, you don't need a full rich tone, you want an aggressive tone, this might be the way to go. Now, there's another angle that you can use where you take it a little bit more off, and I'm gonna do this with both of them. Kind of move this one back a little. With the Pro XT, it's so easy. Oh my God. But you take it up off the drum a little bit. And this is when you want a more vintage sound or more faraway sound, or maybe live. You don't have a snare mic, you only got 2 tom mics. This allows a little bit more kit bleed. It gives you a little bit less aggressive a tom sound, something a bit more pillowy. A little bit breathier sound, is it not? Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was also when you bring this microphone in to closer heads, a lot of times with floor toms, you might want to put just a little tilt away from the ride cymbal. The less bleed, the better in isolation. And so I'm doing these guys flanking so you can hear it on both these. First, we're going to check out this PR28. Now the sound's feathering the diaphragm a little bit. So it's a great way to have an aggressive sound, but kind of strike the difference between Goldilocks or off, or right in the drum head, right here, a little off it. Which is actually the same technique I'm kind of doing with this floor tom mic right here, which is the other floor tom mic I like to use from Heil, the PR31, because it's the large diaphragm dynamic that kind of mimics the concept of a condenser mic and allows you to get this little angle just like I got on this tom, and we can hear the difference between the two now. Check it out. Now, the PR31 gives me a bit more depth, a bit more bottom end in the floor tom, which is why I like to drop these on here, and why the 31BW is kind of designed this way, to be smaller and get into your toms, so you can do that down and dirty technique. Here we go, it's so easy. And again, just a little, with the diaphragm, just a little off. My sound guys on Rihanna were big about this, man. We're getting it in there, and then just off, just a little. Come on. I'm actually going to bring that up just a little bit, up in height, because that might be aggressive. Now, I'm a person who likes to make it right in between the tension rods. A lot of times it gives you the richest, warmest sound. And with this off the tom, you can hear how this is much more aggressive. This is a little bit more airy, but I'm going to bring it in, just like this one with a little angle off it. And actually, I'm going to split it. So you can kind of hear how you can match this microphone with this PR31BW to get a big, full bottom end on your floor tom. Warm tones, but with some attack on this 12-inch tom to where they blend real well. Because again, for me, if I can have this on my 12 and my 14, and this is my 16 studio live, come on. It's what I'm talking about, y'all. So again, I hope this helped you have some ideas on how to mic your tom, kind of what the angles do, just all on their own. And now I'm going to take this to the kit in my studio and see what we can do about checking it out in full action so you can hear the difference in flow in part 2 of tom mic placement. Solid.